Hey everybody, it's Allison Dawrant coming to you from my studio in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And for those of you that have been following me on my channel, you'll recognize this collage piece that I've sort of been showing you my progress as I work on it. And this was a piece that came together so beautifully, at least I think so. It's not my typical style, but what I wanted to do was to create a collage piece on wood panels. So this is a cradled wood panel. Now it's hard to see just because I've secured it in this frame, but this is what a cradled wood panel looks like. So the cradled edge is usually 1 inch to 2 inches. There's different widths you can get, but this is a cradled panel. And I love to mount my artwork to these panels. I also love to paint directly on these panels. So this is just one that's ready to go. And I'm just gonna set that aside. And then you can see in the back of this cradled panel, I've secured it to what's called a floating frame. So these little L hooks are great because they secure with two little screws, just the back of the wood panel to the frame really nicely. So you have to make sure you get the right size of hook. But before I get into too much detail, I just wanted to share, this is sort of a medley of painted papers that I've been working on over the years. And over the summer, last summer, I had collected daisies, different botanicals, wildflowers, and you can see that daisy monoprint that I have right in here, as well as up in the sky, there's that daisy print. And I was just playing around with collage pieces that I enjoyed and trying to get some really deep bluish green hues from acrylic inks. So most of this is acrylic ink. This is watercolor with a deli paper over top. So this turned out really beautifully, this area here, because it's very hard to achieve a very fine, transparent turquoise sort of wash in your work with acrylic ink. So it has to be done with watercolor. And then I use the Dorland's wax medium to, use the cold wax medium to protect and sort of have long-term care for this painting. And it's buffed on and you can just see not too much of a shimmer, but a beautiful sheen. So what I do is I just continue to buff it out until I get the sheen that I like. So this is coated in wax and it's primarily paper, collage papers, paint, some acrylic paint, which is this white botanical in the mountainscape. So abstract mountains. I'm in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. So of course the mountains are a huge inspiration for me. And it's a beautiful day. You can hear the birds chirping in the background. I wanted to give a shout out to my dad, who probably, he's too busy to be watching my YouTube videos, but every now and then I know he and my mom, they're really cute. They're like, oh, I saw a recent video of yours. And anyways, but he had stained a bunch of these floater frames for me. So I just feel really grateful because I have this beautiful kind of almost like a dark burgundy walnut kind of stain. So I wanted to share that. And before I share what else I've been up to, I'm going to maybe choose a card from my art poetry deck and also put in front of me, these are canvas proofs that I got from my printer Ken Chow yesterday. And these are two 24-inch square paintings I had done on wood panel, and I have them here. They're being picked up by my art client, my art collector today, but I just thought I'd share with you these little canvas proofs. Now the lighting is tricky. So lighting in photography and video really has a hard time picking up the deep turquoises, light turquoise, some of the blues, but Ken did an incredible job just color matching with his computer. So what I can do is just bring this painting into your view. Here it is. So it is really big And so I'm just going to use this as my background. You can just see all of the different elements. I use some painted papers, botanical collage elements. Oakley, slow down on your kibble ball. And a lot of etching. You can see some collage paper in here. I used that toned, Strathmore toned paper to get that beautiful collage look in this area here. And before I get too much into the depths of this painting, where are we at? I will pick a card from my art poetry deck. So that's kind of as far as I can zoom you out. But I just wanted to share this painting as I'm really proud of it. It's a very different style. I started painting acrylics before I started with watercolors. And you can see how amazing the color matching is with my photographer and my printer, the way he color matched everything. And he was really funny. He's like, you must have used every single hue of certain colors, you know, very atypical from my watercolor paintings. So he really had to work hard to kind of color match and get the photography right for this painting. So I feel really grateful. This painting is called, it's a diptych, so they're meant to be side by side, and it's Becoming Fluent in Nature. That's the title, Becoming Fluent in Nature. So I'll speak to that title at some point, but it was sort of like becoming more fluent and more well-versed in painting botanicals, things that I just love painting, but I don't tend to incorporate into my work because it's taken years of painting to get that confidence to do these abstract florals in a way that really feels and resonates with me authentically. So I'm very, very pleased with these, but becoming fluent in nature was sort of like becoming more fluent, well-versed with painting botanicals and nature and those elements that I love, and just also becoming sort of stronger as an artist and more, I suppose, fluent in my nature, my personality as a human. This symbolizes growth for me, both creatively and as a person. So these two paintings, this diptych, Becoming Fluent in Nature, is sort of this comprehensive summary of sort of where I am at right now with my acrylic painting style, incorporating the botanical collage elements. And yeah, so I'll just set that aside. I am going to be making prints available at some point in time because they turned out so beautifully. I just don't have time to get my website together. So I'm going to just do a little shuffle of my art poetry deck. If it was my son, he would just toss all these cards on the painting, do a little swirl, and then pick a card. So I like his style. And so this is actually a really great card for me today, Accept the Meaning in Darkness. So I'll kind of let that card sit with you as an intention, maybe for our video. I think of these cards both as a reflection of me as a creative, prompts that I'd like to use as inspiration or insights into my creative practice, into my artist's life. I mean, my life is art. And just accepting the meaning in darkness. So this has a double meaning for me. This is one of my art poetry paintings, and I love starting with that deep, dark Payne's gray. And the dark adds so much contrast to the lighter areas. I'm just gonna see if I can zoom you in here. But accepting the meaning in darkness. So accepting the importance of contrast in a painting, the darkness, the dark parts, and how they really help bring out the light. So this darker, almost like forest green, I just love this. Some of the darker turquoise in the bottom corner, and then just seeing the contrast with the very, very chunky kind of stark white that you see underneath right here. So just, you know, not only was I talking about the importance of contrast as a principal element of design, a sort of a principle of art, you know, as we would talk about line and color and value and composition, space, but talking about contrast and darkness, and how sometimes if you feel like there's something a bit missing in your painting, do you have enough lights? Do you have enough darks? If you squint your eyes, or say you take a photo of what you're working on and put the black and white option on your camera, if you have that ability, and looking for the parts that are darker and the parts that are lighter. Or if you don't have that darkness, is there a way you can add that darkness to really bring out the light? And I am, because I am going through, my best friend is going through cancer treatment right now. Today is going for a lumbar puncture, tomorrow an MRI, starting chemo next Monday. There has been a lot of darkness, I feel, with what's been going on, and just accepting that there are really bright areas. There's a lot of beauty in when you're going through something with someone, and also just appreciating all the beauty, all the good things, all the good memories, and having hope and really holding on to that hope. So the importance of when we have those dark times, we really highlight the good times as well. And we, I'm kind of going into more than I wanted to, but I just wanted to give a shout out to my bestie, and just this card's, I know she's going through a very dark time, and just to know that there's light and hope and strength coming her way. So that is the art poetry card for today. I could just pull another one for fun here, and then I'll get on with my video. And this one's actually really awesome. Too bad I just tucked away the other card. There's a really heavy duty truck that just went by. I really love that this is the second card that I pulled. If you're passionate about it, find a way to do it more. And I know a lot of people in my life would be like, what, you were doing a video today? There's so much on the go right now with everything. And, if I am passionate about something, and I'm so passionate about art, I find a way just to kind of tuck it into my life. And I feel like I get so much more out of this community and sharing, and it really helps me as an artist grow. And I just wanted to say that, even these small little habits that we have, if we could just follow those things that light us up and do more of them and fit them in, even if it's just 10 minutes a day, flipping through maybe a book that you get inspiration from, going for a walk in nature, looking at maybe some works in progress you have, and just looking at them in a new light and seeing if you can kind of move them forward with a way that feels authentic. And this is a painting, this is called Reliable in Nature, which is kind of funny because the paintings behind here, of course, these are titled Becoming Fluent in Nature. And this one was titled Reliable in Nature because this is my most reliable color palette as an artist. At least several years ago when I painted this abstract kind of mountain illustrative watercolor scape, I used that Payne's gray that I had just showed you in the other cards, saying accept the meaning in darkness. So this color palette is kind of my go-to. It makes me sort of reliable in the sense that you will see a lot of these colors probably for a long time pop up in my art. And it's kind of funny because if I chose another card, sometimes the card would be very cohesive in terms of color palette. And you can just see that I love the turquoises and pops of color. I love the bright pinks, the fuchsia, and the green, the turquoise. Greens make me so happy. I've been using more of these greens in my work. little pops of the pastel pink and coral and Naples yellow. And then of course shimmer. I love you know, adding gold and iridescent bronze and copper, just a little hint of shimmer in my work. But I think if I was just to say anything today, even, you know, I mean, we all have stuff going on no matter who we are. Life is busy, the world is busy, we have lots on our mind all the time. And just trying to like hone in on something you're passionate about and figuring out how can you do more of it. And it doesn't have to be big, but just something that you remember just enjoying and doing, and can you somehow revisit that? So I will leave you with that card. So ways to find light through darkness, you know, in your creative life and in your own life. And I have just heard that Canada Post might be going on strike again. This would be the third time in the past couple years, and I had stalled selling my art poetry deck online because of it, but now I'm just powering through, and until I get the for sure notice that they're striking, I'm going to continue to sell this online. So this is $60 Canadian on my website if you're interested, and it's 71 cards of my original art all tucked into this little box. So just wanted to share that, give a little plug to myself, self-promotion, and then I'm going to move this big painting. Swap it out. There's an area of this painting that I just really love, which is this area right here. Strategically, it's in the upper third of this wood panel, which was purposeful. I'm finally getting a point where I'm becoming more fluent in the design elements and what appeals to me as an artist, and so I love this area. This was actually a real botanical monoprint from something I'd collected over the summer here in Calgary when I was out and about. So this was last summer. I made this gorgeous print with, it's like a cerulean blue, a bright blue, Payne's gray. And of course I emphasized this middle orange part, but you can just see that that is actually paper that I used a matte medium to glue on. And this just appeared as the most beautiful flower. It's abstract, but I can just see the middle part here, this beautiful floral. I also want to share a few other parts, again, painted papers that I kind of extended through the middle. This flower just kind of appeared, I can't remember exactly, I think that was done just with paint, and then I kind of brought it out. I really love the texture down in this area here. You can see in the light. And of course, my reliable color palette, which are the corals, the Naples yellow. I don't tend to use a lot of red. Maybe I do more than I realize, but a lot of red in this particular diptych. And then this was the other sort of central floral here. And when I was trying to figure out how to pull the painting together, I just wanted to have a really chunky magenta, or kind of like an ultra, I don't know what kind of violet. I think that was what was that? Is it magenta? Anyways, you can just see that I have some collage around here, but then the really chunky magenta. And then this will be hard to show you, so I'm just gonna actually bring you can see Oakley behind me there. I'd like to show you the edges of the painting. So I love to paint edges. So I encourage you, if you do acrylic painting on panels or canvas, if you don't do the edges with the composition, see if you can maybe incorporate that, as it's just such a fun thing to do. So I'm just gonna set that aside, and then I'll show you what I've been working on. Okay, so this is a painting I had titled Chasing Petals, and I was thinking of course, flower petals, chasing butterflies. This came out like a bit of a butterfly. This is that huge painting I had showed, 48 inches long and 24 inches wide, and my printer Ken had just given me this proof, and I think it just turned out so beautiful. So this is canvas material. It's now hanging above my fireplace. It's quite big, but I just wanted to share with you how it turned out. My camera is just not high enough to get the whole picture, but it was, again, just collage and chunky paint, sort of a different color palette, less reliable than my other one. And chasing petals, I think of chasing dopamine through art, chasing those feel-good hormones and neurotransmitters. And this turned out very much like it was a flower, but also a butterfly. And my mom saw it and she's like, "That, I can just see this beautiful butterfly in the upper corner." I just have my window open here, so somebody's conversation is going to be in the background. Hopefully they're talking about something exciting. Purples, I don't usually have much purple, but I love the abstracts, just the marks in here. So I'm feeling like this has been a really great kind of movement from watercolor. I'm trying to think if I have any recent watercolor. I mean, this is my more typical watercolor style if you're kind of new to my channel. See if I can find just an art poetry painting that is, oh, this is a duplicate deck. I don't know how that got in there. This would be one of my, oh my gosh, all the trucks. Got some good background noise. Here it is. This would be, I'm just gonna shut the window. Okay, this would be a typical art poetry painting. Find peace in the present moment, in the present, and this says hold on to hope. So I've gone from this style, watercolor on paper, back to this acrylic collage on very large wood panel and canvas. So just wanted to kind of share with you how I'm transitioning back and forth. I change with the seasons. I have also been excited to mount my watercolor paper to panel. So this was just a really fun, explorative watercolor scape I had started in my art journal, and the paper was very, very affordable, 140-pound watercolor paper. And I just kept coming across this. I had taken it out of it had a perforated edge in the journal I was working in, and I haven't finished it, but I just kept thinking, I love something about this painting. I don't know if it's the colors, that it's so loose. So yesterday I glued 3 watercolor pieces to panel, and this is one of them. So this is a cradled wood panel, and it turned out really well. So this morning I had excess paper. I used my Exacto knife and my self-healing mat, and I cut around it, and I'm gonna do the other 2 with you all. So just they're big. Oops. Oh, sorry. Here's one of them. It's this watercolor reticulated background, and I had glued it to this triangular panel. So what we're gonna do is, I thought I would just share on video. I'm just gonna use my Exacto knife, cutting away from myself, and putting kind of little triangles where I'm gonna be cutting, just so the paper doesn't tear. And then when we cut around it, you'll see how nice it looks when it's been glued to the panel. I usually don't share this process. I don't do a lot of processes that require high ventilation. I work outside when I do a lot of my acrylic painting or work with acrylic inks or matte mediums, Dorland's wax medium, just because of the, I find I get headaches and just don't feel great when I use those products if it's not good ventilation. So I'm just gonna use my Exacto knife, and I'm gonna probably go by 3 times. Maybe one more time. And that came off quite nicely. Almost through. This is just a really good alternative to using paintings that you've done on paper that you really love. I've done several videos. I couldn't even know if I titled them properly, but how to mount watercolor paper to wood panel. And there's lots of great videos out there, not just mine, of course. I'm trying to remember the one that really got me into this process. I think it was an artist out of Italy, but it was so long ago. I'd have to try and search for it. But just look up how to mount watercolor paper to panel. And if you're a follower of my videos, there's definitely a couple of videos where I've shown my process. And so here we go. There is the paper, and it's been basically mounted to this panel. I can use a really fine sander, like a hand sander you can get at a hardware store, and just kind of sand off the paper if you can figure out which way the grain is going. You can also paint over this, so if you find there's areas that just aren't 100%, you can just, use this as a base. So